So in terms of three takeaways, I think that one is, of course, the region's very heterogeneous. Two, the incredible importance of reading the tea leaves of the region, and I'm going to come back to this. And then lastly, this idea of strategic autonomy. So in terms of heterogeneity, the region is so diverse, and we have the Philippines that is willing to engage in a minilateral relationship. We have an ultra-developed Singapore. Vietnam is a socialist state that has a complex but sometimes synergistic relationship with China. This all creates real complexity in terms of how we think about the region, how they're thinking about their economic prosperity and economic security, how they're thinking about their security in general, and how they think about their alignments. So that's a key, I think, for us to be thinking about. Second is this idea of reading the tea leaves of the region. You know, high-level speeches by prime ministers often say we don't want to choose between the United States and China. But I think there's a lot of great data out there. For example, the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies survey on South Asia, or the Asian China survey that comes out annually, that tell a different story. In these anonymous surveys, what we see is there's concern about encroaching Chinese hegemony within the region. What does it mean if China dominates the region for this region's autonomy and independence? What kind of rules will be imposed in the region? How Southeast Asian countries actually welcome initiatives like the Quad and AUKUS for the public good provision that the Quad does provide, or the deterrence effect that the AUKUS provides within the region. Even the countries that have the most, I guess, complex relationship with China, like Vietnam, look at these initiatives quietly and anonymously with more support. So I think that's a really important way to be thinking about, again, this reading the tea leaves. And then lastly, I think is the diplomatic actions that we see in the region. And this is actually, for me, the most fascinating way to read the tea leaves of Southeast Asia. So we look at a country like Vietnam, and Vietnam has actively courted or worked with the United States over the past few years. They've hosted Mr. Biden, the vice president. They've set up a Center of Disease Control in Hanoi. They had welcomed U.S. ships to Cam Bay, at least for a visit. They welcomed the Japanese for their visits and their investments. They welcomed the EU. And then in January, they welcome President Xi. And I think what we can understand is that these countries, again, are trying to secure the strategic autonomy by tilting to the West, but at the same time, not tilting away from China. And I think this is a pattern that we should be watching throughout the region. The Philippines as well, they're working in minilateral relationships with Australia, Japan, the United States. Singapore, Thailand, they work through the COBRA exercises to engage in security relationships, at the same time strengthening their economic partnerships. So again, the diplomacy that we see is that they are engaging with the United States, but also extra-regional powers to pull them into the region so that they can balance the power and size of China. So I guess the last point is the strategic autonomy, and this is all related to my previous points. Is that these countries want strategic autonomy. They want to be able to choose between their independent foreign policy within the region. They want to maintain independence of decision-making on economic security, on trade, on who their security partnerships are. But at the same time, they understand that China's not going away. Their economic prosperity and economic security is going to be related to the Chinese market, and they must engage proactively, but from a position where they've balanced Chinese asymmetric size differences rather than compete directly with that size difference.